After a heated and impassioned debate, the UK Parliament voted in favour of the assisted suicide bill tabled by Labour MP Kim Leadbeater, propelling the bill at record speed for further parliamentary scrutiny. The bill, published by Leadbeater on November 11th, barely 18 days before the second reading, was debated for approximately 5 hours before it went to a vote. With 330 votes in favour and 270 against, the bill will now be considered line by line by a committee of selected MPs. According to the Terminally Ill Adults End-of-Life Bill, any mentally competent adult with a prognosis of less than 6 months can choose to die. The co-sponsor of the bill, Kim Leadbeater, during her opening statement said that this bill is not about a choice between life or death, but instead about giving dying people a choice of how to die. Conservative MP Kit Malhouse, another co-sponsor of the bill, dared to call it a safer and more compassionate law. However, the bill is neither compassionate nor safe. It does not accord dignity to the human person. Instead, it diminishes the inherent dignity of human beings by equating it to their utility. When what was once apparent becomes unclear, society begins a systemic push to exclude the weak and vulnerable, making way for healthier, more useful, and less burdensome individuals, a phenomenon that can only be described as barbaric and diabolic. This bill facilitates murder, suicide, and coercion, pressuring the dying to end their lives. It inadvertently proclaims that a life with suffering is not a life worth living. Nearly 3 decades ago, in 1995, Pope St. John Paul II addressed the question of suffering, death, and assisted dying in the encyclical Evangelium Vitae. He wrote, quote, "True compassion leads to sharing another's pain. It does not kill the person whose suffering we cannot bear. Moreover, the act of euthanasia appears all the more perverse if it is carried out by those, like relatives, who are supposed to treat a family member with patience and love, or by those such as doctors, who by virtue of their specific profession are supposed to care for the sick person even in the most painful terminal stages. The choice of euthanasia becomes more serious when it takes the form of a murder committed by others on a person who has in no way requested it and who has never consented to it. The height of arbitrariness and injustice is reached when certain people, such as physicians or legislators, arrogate to themselves the power to decide who ought to live and who ought to die. Once again we find ourselves before the temptation of Eden, to become like God, who knows good and evil. God alone has the power over life and death, but he only exercises this power in accordance with a plan of wisdom and love. When man usurps this power, being enslaved by a foolish and selfish way of thinking, he inevitably uses it for injustice and death." End quote.